Alright, so Blizzard has given us another cinematic. Is this cinematic going to save World of Warcraft, or is it just going to dig the hole deeper? Time to find out! That being said, as you all know, Sylvanas is one of my favorite characters from Warcraft ever since Warcraft 3. Mind you, I started playing that when I could barely speak English, but she's been well developed over the years, so I've got a fair bit invested in this one, so I kind of hope they don't screw it up, because it kind of feels like they've been somewhat using her a little bit to drive the plot forward, and I would really, really like to see some proper development. I hope Blizzard brought out the big guns, because they've been having a lot of problems, so I don't even know who's been working on this, to be honest, but someone has. Someone. After just today, they fired how many people? Anyways, let's see how we go.
Sylvanas' soul has been fractured from the moment of her death until now.
Wait, are they doing the same thing that they did with Uther?
Burn it! This was their home. And you slaughtered all of them! How could you take all those innocent lives? This was beyond life and death. There was no other path to true freedom. How can you not see that? I see what you are. Murderer! Monster! Butcher! Why can I not escape this torment?
Wow.
The jailer has severed their bond and condemned her to endlessly relive her atrocities.
Wow. And I don't know what's going on with the lighting on this camera. It keeps changing my color. I noticed that since yesterday, but wow, what a cruel son of a bitch.
So long as her soul remains divided, she cannot wake.
Maybe she shouldn't.
She's the only one who knows the jailer's plan and how we might save Anduin.
She's the one that turned Anduin.
Jaina is right. How can we possibly trust her?
Who said anything about trusting her?
Her wound runs so much deeper than mine.
Wait, is that the... Wait. Is that the farm where, you know, she buries the humans up to their necks and they get experimented on? No? Okay. Sylvanas' own happy farm.
Well met, Ranger General.
What is this? Who are you?
Someone who shared your fate, felled by the blade of the very same prince.
Arthas. I died trying to stop that monster, only to wake up haunted by one with my face.
That Banshee is you.
No. I cannot accept that.
Her path began where yours ended, and you've seen the decisions she made.
Never in 1,000 lifetimes would I betray everything I stood for. You can't possibly understand.
The jailer is deceptively cunning. When I realized I had become his pawn, it nearly destroyed me. He had no doubts it would destroy you as well. Was he right? Or will you accept her shattered legacy and tell us how to stop him?
Her crimes are unforgivable.
Yes.
And she... I must face the consequences.
We cannot change the past, and we may never find forgiveness in the future. But inaction damns us all. Time is short, Ranger General. Make your choice.
Wow, that would suck.
I've done all I can.
Oh god, this song again. Really? They're doing the whole Vulcan thing? That's a cheap shot. That's a cheap shot. I'm sorry, that's a cheap shot. That is a cheap shot. No, that, ouch. Ouch. That particular piece of music, if I watch that cinematic with Vulcan again, it still stings. It still stings. Because he was such an awesome dude. And they're like, fuck, how do we make this cinematic impactful? Remember that guy? I'm like, oh no. And they play that piece of music and they try to mirror it as much as possible. That's just...
But the Horde will live on.
I have never trusted you. Nor would I have ever imagined in our darkest time that you would be the one to save us. The spirits have granted me clarity, a vision. They whisper a name. Many will not understand, but you must step out of the shadows and lead. You must be war chief.
And it also looked rushed the way they did it. Did you notice that? Did you notice how rushed it was? Did you notice that? Oh, I'm gonna play it. I'm gonna play it from here.
I've done all I can.
Look at that. I mean, come on. That's the same scene. I mean, you might say, oh, it's going full circle, but no, it's not. That kind of feels like it was just reused for the sake of reusing it, just to make it more impactful, because they had nothing else up their sleeve. Honestly. Okay, that's the only bit I would deduct points for. So, let me get this straight. At the moment of death, when her soul was basically removed from her body, all the memories of her soul up until that point, let's call her good Sylvanas, remain as an entity. The Banshee Queen herself that was resurrected as a result of taking the soul and putting it back in her body later by Arthas formed this own entity that's a continuation of the one that died. However, the one that died was also kept separate. So they basically split it in two. They fractured it, they splintered it, similar to how Uther was. Does that mean that the very same thing happens to every single victim of Frostmourne? Does that mean that's the exact same thing that happened to Saurfang's son? Does that mean that's the exact same thing that happened to everyone else? Is that also what happened to Arthas? Okay, Arthas wasn't stabbed by Frostmourne. He took it, you know, as a weapon, but as a result, it absorbed his soul until eventually he was a walking corpse. And, you know, his body was basically like a puppet, you know, controlled by the sword. What's the go? If so, everyone's fucking soul is splintered, right? I mean, it would absolutely suck if, you know, you're this good person. And I tell you, up until that point, she's an absolute, You know, she's a protagonist level good guy. She's Ranger General. She's defending Silvermoon. She holds the line, sacrifices herself to stall Arthas to get as many people out as possible. I mean, she doesn't charge him to melee combat like she did in that cutscene, but you know, if you play Warcraft 3, you kind of see what she does, and you can definitely respect her as a character, a person, a warrior, a general, like all of that, right? You know, full marks. She gets resurrected, she's pissed off. She and the rest of the undead that have regained sentience don't have anywhere to go. They're forsaken. She forms this faction. They have nowhere to go. They wouldn't be accepted by their families. They don't have anywhere to go. I keep saying they don't have anywhere to go. She wants to get vengeance on Arthas. She plans to, you know, assassinate him as she attempted to. That doesn't work. She flees, you know, Undercity, all these things. That all seems, I mean, as a character, fucking makes sense. Well written, all of that good stuff. I always liked her as a character. I always did. They always put a lot of effort into her, and she's got a good story arc. I just don't like it being abused like it is for quick brownie points, quick emotional impact. You know, like, they're fucking recycling stuff. They're recycling Uther's splitting or splintering or fragmenting of his soul, which was a plot point in early Shadowlands, and I understand that, and I'll be honest, Shadowlands didn't exactly grip me. I played, I believe, 1 and started the second zone, and I was just kind of like, meh. This entire cutscene, now that I really think about it, is taking that element from Uther, borrowing a little bit from Zul'jin, and having that same conversation of, can someone be forgiven? A bit like the conversation they had in War Crimes, you know, the novel, when they had Garrosh. And it was that whole thing about his crimes are unforgivable, he should be killed, no, you know, he should stand trial, you know, like, now that I think about it, this is kind of something like, you know, when you have an assignment due for months, for like 3 months, you know, over the school break, and you haven't even started, and it's the weekend before school starts, and you have to really quickly scrape something together. So you borrow bits and pieces from, you know, what you've previously done to create a Frankenstein assignment, and you're just like, bam, it's done. You know, it's not going to get high marks, but it's something. It's kind of writing off everything she did being a calculated decision, believing it's the way to go, and simply saying her soul was split, so it was misguided, which, I mean, you know, if there was still the one, it would. I'm kind of really... I struggle with this one. Normally, I always get that wow, you know, sort of factor when it comes to Warcraft cutscenes and cinematics. You know, Illidan Lightbringer scene. Wow, you know. What else can I think of? You know, variants, play of the game. Wow. Vol'jin. Wow. Lich King. Wow. You know, even during Mists of Pandaria, you know, everyone working together. This doesn't give me that. I mean, I know the plot is progressing, and we sort of had a little bit of a thing in the previous one where Sylvanas rebels, but it's missing that, you know, that secret ingredient that made Warcraft. It's kind of missing, and I have a feeling it has something to do with the fact that the company's imploding from within, and it's really sad. And getting updates on what was going on from what I'm hearing is absolutely shocking. And the guy that's one of the perpetrators is still at the helm of the company, and people that were whistleblowing are, you know, getting fired. Fuck, but I always liked Warcraft. It was a big part of my childhood. It was a big part of me growing up. I spent a lot of time on the internet. It was my haven away from a shitty reality. I learned so much. I grew up there. I met a lot of people there. I grew as a person there. It's kind of fucked to see what's happening to it. I'm sad to say that I kind of feel that they're delaying the inevitable, because the company itself is like a sinking ship, and unfortunately Warcraft is, you know, a piece of cargo that just keeps getting more and more damaged as the ship lets in more and more water. I mean, wasn't one of the novelists that was writing like a white supremacist or something, or like a reverse white supremacist or something? I don't know. She was something. You know, it's kind of, fuck is going on in that company? Where did it go wrong? Or was it always going wrong and we just never realized? I don't know how I feel about this. Now that I'm really, really thinking about it, I have absolutely no idea how I feel about this. I don't know if it's going the right direction or wrong direction. I know they had the Sylvanas book that came out. I honestly haven't read any of the books. I've watched videos about the books, which is why I mentioned War Crimes. It was by videos by Noble, and they're just absolutely freaking fantastic. And I always wanted to get into more and more of the lore, but it makes it very difficult to get into when this sort of stuff is happening to the company. And it's just like, oh my god. What do you guys think? I was hoping that they were going to have something which entices me to consider going back to playing WoW, but this doesn't do it. This just doesn't do it. I don't even know the full story to Shadowlands, to be honest. And I'm kind of like, meh. I've never, ever been like that, ever since I started playing WoW. Since I started playing WoW, even if I unsubscribed, when the plot would move, I would be excited to see what's happening, and I'd consider getting back in. And a lot of the times I got back in, even if it was, you know, skipping multiple patches in Mists of Pandaria, you get back in, you try to catch up, you see what's going on. This, are we trying to hold on to something that's already out of reach? Like, are we desperately trying to cling to something from the past? I don't know. I don't know. I'm so conflicted. I'm curious, does anyone have an up-to-date sort of thing of what's going on with Blizzard? Because from what I'm seeing from the outside, it's not looking good. Even people higher up are leaving. Who do they have left? By the end of this, you're going to have interns writing the main story. At this point, it's going to be, you know that episode of South Park where they're talking about the economy and bailouts, and they get the chicken and they chop off the chicken's head and they play it, and the chicken sort of runs around in a circle until it bleeds out to death, and when it falls, they make a decision. Well, they do that to pick a character, then they roll a dice on what their action is going to be, and then